there and welcome back to another Demon Slayer video. So yeah, it's been a long time since I last made a Demon Slayer video. The last time I tried to do some episode reviews, I found myself whacked on the head with a copyright strike and a bunch of blocked videos, and well, that well and truly scared me off and stopped me from making any more videos on that for quite a while. I didn't want to wake up and find my channel had been deleted and my account banned. But this time around, I'm going to give it another go and try to do some episode reviews as we go along. After all, those copy strikes have well and truly faded. And so we're going to start off today, because as you know if you're a fan of the show, the next season of Demon Slayer is going to be releasing in April. But regardless, there has been a cinematic release of the first episode alongside the final episodes of the second season, the Entertainment District arc, where the Sound Hashira, Lord Tengen, teamed up with Tanjiro, Zenitsu, Inosuke and Nezuko to battle two upper-ranked demons, eventually defeating and killing them, although it came at the cost of Tengen's hand and his continued service as a Hashira. Whilst our characters are in various states of ridiculous injury, they all survive through the power of breathing techniques and shifting their internal organs and plot, and so there was no key character deaths in this arc. And so this collection of episodes was released theatrically as Demon Slayer to the Swordsmith Village, and was released off the back of the first Demon Slayer movie, which told the events of the train arc from season 2, but in a condensed theatrical format. That film released in 2020, and it did very well, very well. Despite releasing during the height of COVID, it managed to gross $506 million, becoming the highest grossing Japanese film of all time, and was the highest grossing film, not just animated film, of that year, anywhere in the world. And that's the first time a non-Hollywood film actually achieved that feat, and so it's pretty clear that you'd have to be a complete fool to not want to repeat that, to not replicate that. So the studio did. They wanted some delicious money, and I can't say I blame them. And so that's how we arrive at the release of this film, which, like I said, shows the end of the Entertainment District arc. Just to give a bit of context and serve as a recap as well as pad out the runtime, before we jump into the next stage of our story. Now, I don't have the actual episode on hand to give a full in-depth review this time, and this is more just talking about the film version itself, but from what I recall, the first episode was quite good. But of course, a bit slow because, once again, it's a setup episode. Episode 1. But regardless, this season seems poised to take things in a new direction. The episode's first half revolves around Tanjiro and the gang being taken away by the Demon Slayer Medical Corps to recover at the Butterfly House, which is a process that for many of them takes a couple of weeks. But slowly they recover, and interestingly, the trio splits up. Zenitsu, who is the least injured, is set out on a group mission with a bunch of other Demon Slayers, whilst after Tanjiro wakes up, Inosuke does the same. And meanwhile, Tanjiro instead has to make a trip to the legendary Swordsmith Village, as his swordsmith has stopped replying to his letters, and thus, there's no way for Tanjiro to get a blade otherwise. And so he makes his way to the village and encounters a whole town full of people who all wear those funny red masks. And in an interesting twist, it's revealed that despite his personal swordsmith blaming him every time a sword breaks, the other villagers actually believe that if the sword breaks, it's the smith's fault for forging a subpar weapon. On top of that, he also encounters both the Love Hashira and also the angry dude from his test to join the Demon Slayers in the first place. And then after he has his very first pervy moment where he gets an epic nosebleed after the Love Hashira whispers in his ear, he notices the Mist Hashira talking to another character whom he'd had a dream about, and who heavily resembles the number one upper-ranked demon, setting up for some pretty big drama going forward. But that's where it ends, I'm afraid. It cuts off right as you're about to get some answers, right as you're about to get into that drama. Bit frustrating. But yeah, like I said, this is more than just an episode review. It really serves as a review of the whole cinematic experience and whether in the end it's worth it. And honestly, I am a bit mixed. Because look, the train arc film, that was great. They took the arc and they made something a little bit different. Yes, it follows the same trajectory as the arc within the episodic show, but at the same time it does it differently. It feels more cinematic, I guess. And that's something that this one does not accomplish. Instead, it very much at times feels like a waste of time. When you buy a ticket to a film, you don't want to have your time wasted. You get there, you sit through all the pre-show material, ads for local businesses, trailers for upcoming movies. They really pad that shit out. And so when you finally get to the content, you want it to be concise and flow well, to keep you engaged. And whilst the film is able to do that in spurts, it's also one of the most stop-start things I've ever watched in my life. Because, yeah, it was actually really awesome to see the final battle in the Entertainment District arc play out on the big screen. Those final 2 episodes, they were great. And they got right into it. I mean, they had a little bit of an intro explaining the context, but otherwise it just went straight for it. And that was fine, and it all looked great, and it sounded great. It was really exciting and engaging. At least right up until the first episode of that section ended, and you had to sit through the credits and then the intro of the next episode. And it's like, well, yeah, why would you want this? It feels like binge watching with extra steps, if you ask me, and costing more money. And on top of that, they didn't even bother editing the episodes or anything. And so a number of times, you find yourself coming across the exact same scene with only slight deviations, maybe in the dialogue or the camera angle. Drawing angle, you know what I mean. I mean, at times they even had the cuts that are meant for ad breaks or to do the recap scenes in the next episode. They kept those parts in, and that makes the cinematic experience feel weird and repetitive. If you're just binge watching it at home, that's fine, because that's one thing, but you'd hope a bit more effort would be put into the editing when you're actually having people come to pay to see it in theaters. I don't know, it's just my thoughts on it. Because yeah, the credits were by far the worst thing of that whole experience. You sit through a huge intense battle, and then, before the fight's over, because you have to wait until the next episode, you get blasted with 3 to 4 minute credits. And that completely wipes out your hype, and it gets very tiresome. And I mean, there were a lot of audible sighs in the theatre I was sitting in. And in all honesty, I think the only exception to this rule was probably having the intro theme for the latest arc. I mean, it's not like it was a highlight or anything, but you know, I do like to see that kind of stuff, so it was fine. But that being said, even that felt kind of out of place and threw off the flow of things. And honestly, the best part of the whole thing was the very end section, the fresh content. That was good. Ugh. But the recap of Season 2, it was such a chop job in terms of editing. 2 episodes slapped together with no care or finesse. And so, while seeing the new shit was fun, ultimately, I'd just wait. I would not recommend this, because, I don't know, it wasn't engaging, and the pacing was so bad. Just not worth the time or money. So, yeah, I guess there's nothing really else to say. I know this is a shorter video, but it's just one of those things, I guess. And so with all that being said, that's the end of the video, and I would like to remind you that these have just been my opinions, and I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the movie if you've seen it? You like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.